wonderful kind of irreverent view of the film industry, you know, and he's like, don't go to film school, what are you going to spend $250,000, you know, go buy a crappy little camera and an inexpensive, you know, system and start editing. And he said, you know, everybody's got about a dozen bad films in them. The sooner you get them out of your system, the better. And you don't want to be spending a lot of money on those crappy little films. You know, he's talking about when he was the first year in film school, he said, one of my students, fellow students spent like $5,000 on his first film. Guess what? It sucked. It didn't matter that he spent $5,000. He said he was depressed because he spent $5,000 on his first film, which sucked. He said, my first film sucked too. If I'd spent $5,000 on it, I'd be depressed too. So I recommend, it's a really good book for budding filmmakers. And it's very entertaining.
So where are you from?
Originally, Pennsylvania. I grew up small town outside of Pittsburgh called Delmont. There was a summer theater there in my entire childhood called Apple Hill Playhouse, which was run by 3 producers out of New York. And every summer, a cast and crew would breeze in from New York, and they let me, this little kid, starting from about 3rd grade, hang out there every summer. So I literally grew up in the theater.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we moved in.
Role?
My favorite role, I have two
that you've actually played.
That I've. I actually have 2 favorite roles. On stage, I did a production of the Scarlet Letter in New York City with Tiny Mythic Theater Company. It was I played Roger Chillingworth, which is a wonderful, amazing role. And my favorite television role is the character Gnarl on Same Time, Same Place on Buffy. It's the episode that Jane Espenson wrote, which is, it's just the Hannibal Lecter, the demon world. Excuse me. I mean, how could you not love a role like that? You know, I remember I got the sides for the audition. I was just like, oh my God! Yeah, it was such a fun role. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So, how long have you been involved with film? How many years? Well, you've been involved with acting since you were 3 or 3rd grade?
Yeah, I've been.
How long were you in 3rd grade?
9 or 10, probably, something like that. Yeah. So, and before that, I was playing with stage makeup because my father had been an actor and a makeup artist, so I got into his makeup kit before that.
Did you come out and show your mom, "Hey, Mom, I'm bleeding"?
Yeah, or like a putty nose or a beard. I got a beard, Mom. And he's like, sure you do.
So you've been involved with film for a while in the theater.
Yeah, theater for many, many years. And I also lived in New York for many years. Did theater in New York. I was the founding member of a small theater in the Lower East Side called Nada.
Okay, great.
It's a very famous little theater that went on to win an Obie Award. And
really?
Yeah.
Is it still around?
It is not, unfortunately. It was there a long time. It had a really good run. But unfortunately, it's not anymore. But I think my first film role, was in a.
We're doing a documentary.
Go ahead. No.
Yeah, go for it. My first film role was, I think, was an educational, consumer educational film that WQED was putting on in Pittsburgh. I lived in when I was in my teens, we moved into the city of Pittsburgh, and I was working as a production assistant and assistant film editor at WQED at the time. And
so you were in film editing.
And I love, and we were
still knuckles. Right.
Well, we were still cutting work print and sound. We were like, we were on flatbed. We were on like 8-plate chems is what we were on. But anyways, it was a consumer education. And I was on set. I was slating all the material, and they said, "Hey, you want to play the ladder salesman in this?" And I went, "Okay." So I was 18, I guess, you know. And it was funny. Michael Keaton he played a role in that too. Of course, Michael Keaton wasn't known as Michael Keaton then. He was known as Michael Douglas. That's his real name. So yeah, I think that was my first, and it was funny because I had taken a detour from acting to do production and post production for a number of years. It just kind of happened accidentally, I guess.
Like being on both sides?
I do. I have not done any editing recently, although I did go back to doing it again in like 2000, shortly before I was doing when I was on season 7 of Buffy. I started film editing again. I cut a number of features. I recut Robert Hall's Lightning Bug, for instance. I don't know if you saw that. That was Robert Hall's first film.
I got 2 big questions for you. I love Joss Whedon. I've watched some of Buffy. I have not really don't follow Buffy enough to really know everything about it. When did you first get involved with Buffy?
Season 4. I was called in to audition for the silent episode Hush, which is probably one of the most famous episodes of Buffy.
What? How was it working with Josh back in the day before he became big?
He was pretty big then, even, actually. I mean, honestly, but he never. Even today. I ran into him at the Saturn Awards, and he's still very humble. And he still does what he does because he loves. He directed the Avengers because it's the Avengers. He's like, he couldn't help himself. He's a fan. But working with him on Hush was. The first time I ever met him was I went in to audition for Hush, and it was this little improv, and we floated in, and we were like smiling, and we cut this guy's heart out, and then we floated back out, and he literally went, "Okay, thank you. Oh God, I'm gonna have nightmares now." So I thought, okay, he either thinks I'm a total psycho or I have the role. So I got cast, which was really fun. But that was my first introduction to him. But working with him, and I was on set with him every day as we were shooting Hush. He was always very even keel and very even tempered. Even when things were, and of course there's always problems on set. Props aren't working, things aren't happening, things are falling behind, whatever. There was never ever any kind of temper that were flaring up or anything. He was always, always the work at hand. It's the work at hand, and that was a lovely, wonderful thing,
A last question. Someone builds a time machine, and you get to go back and you get to give yourself 2 pieces of advice. Back when you were in third grade, just starting out in the industry.
Wow.
Take your time.
What advice would I? I don't think I would do it because honestly, that would change the present now, wouldn't it? And as much as I sometimes would like to see a different present, and sometimes I like to see a different past, although good friends of mine used to say, "You'll never have a better yesterday." My triumphs and my mistakes and everything in between have made me who I am today. So it's a pretty good life. So
I like your attitude. I really do.
Thank you so much.